Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest episode of Blue Truth and Bourbon. Kind of getting an echo there. I am your host, Steve, and I'm glad to be back. First time back on the interweb here in about a month and a half, I guess. Yeah, I had some things going on and just needed to reset, refocus, and hopefully the sound is good for you guys. But if you're here watching us live or you're catching us on the YouTube channel or on Spotify, thanks for being here. Had had a pretty good day today. I had an opportunity to participate in a workshop for mental health awareness and preparedness for retirees, which is often a neglected group. And so had a great opportunity today to be a part of that and some of the training they're doing. So it was a good time. Really great information that was put out there by UCF Restores and Brett Mead, who's a retired law enforcement chief of police and public speaker, does a lot of stuff across the country. So I appreciate Brett having us out there and at Windermere PD with Chief Dag Bogdan. Appreciate them putting on that training and allowing those of us who were there to participate. So, and got to stop by the old stomping grounds on the way home and meet with some people that I used to work with. So I got a chance to say hi to some folks, and so that was a good time. And now I'm with you guys, so I appreciate you being here. One of the things that you may notice, and if anybody comments, we will see that. But StreamYard has updated their program here, where I can see the comments pop up on the actual broadcast on the stage, and hopefully that won't be a distraction. The reason I've enabled that feature is because it allows me to kind of keep eye contact with the screen that I watch over there and the computer here in front of me without having to manipulate the banners and the comments on the side of my computer. So I don't have to take too much time away from looking ahead and looking like I'm not paying attention. So if that becomes a distraction to you guys, let me know. Hopefully that will be something that benefits me and doesn't distract you guys too much. So had a lot of things going on here over the last month and a half. So it's good to be back on here, taking the time to reach out. So hopefully people will be watching. And if you are here, don't be afraid to say, hey, let me know you're watching, because I can tell how many people are watching. I just can't tell who's watching. So give me a shout and don't be afraid to comment as we go along through here. So, and obviously on YouTube, you can leave comments as well that I'm able to see and read and respond to. So make sure you do that if you're watching on YouTube, because I can always reach out to you at a later date with my response to your comments and stuff like that. If you want to shoot me an email, my email address is down there at the bottom now, bluetruthbourbonpodcast@gmail.com. And again, I'm on Instagram there. Obviously, you're watching me on Facebook and at Spotify, Blue Truth and Bourbon. You can catch us there too. So don't be afraid to reach out. So yeah, today, just getting back into this. I'm kind of limping back into it. Been watching the news lately, and next week will be a good show. Next week, we're going to dig into a little stuff about a shooting in January that took place in California, and some of the things we saw in that video. We'll talk about some of the deficiencies we see and moving forward from there. Where do we go as far as training? and some of the stuff that's going to come back into that with leadership. Of course, I seem to always come back to leadership, so we'll be talking about that a little bit today as well, as we look at this story that I've been following a little bit. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Surely most of you probably have, but the Orleans Parish uh, prison break that occurred last week. Lots of questions out there. And if you haven't seen it, 10 inmates from the Orleans Parish Jail were able to escape through a bathroom in a cell. It's a handicap cell, apparently, and make their way out through a loading dock, over a fence, and out across I-10. So there's lots of video of them leaving uh, the jail itself. Um, Quite interesting. I'm sure if you guys have been following it, you've had questions of your own, comments about what you've seen on it, and and again, so a lot of this comes back to leadership. So we'll talk about those things here tonight. Um, as we get into this, again, if you have any comments, anything at all, don't be afraid to throw them up there, and we'll chat about those as we go. It's always a lot of fun to have a little back and forth, having you guys comment. So makes it a little easier for me. And as we go through, as we get back into this, um, yeah, Sean, I see your comment on here, but it's not showing up on stage for some reason. I wonder why that is. Oh, we'll get to it anyway. Yeah, as we move along and progress in here, we're gonna have a lot more guests with us. In fact, I talked to some folks today that were interested in being a part of the podcast. So hopefully, as we get into this, there'll be a lot of good stuff for you guys to see, a lot of good information, but also a lot of stories from people uh, about their careers and stuff like that. So looking forward to bringing you guys some more info. Um, so yeah, so with this prison break in Orleans Parish, 10 inmates successfully got out of this prison or this jail. And I guess this all started at about, I think it was 12, I think it was 12:30, or no, I'm sorry, 10:30 at night was lockdown. So at 10:30 at night, these inmates are locked down. I'm not familiar with the jail there, so all I can speak to is the jail that I've been to with the agency that I worked for. And I know at our jail, there's different tiers and pods, and within those pods are cells. And it's my understanding that the inmates are locked down in those cells within the pod, and that there are deputies or corrections officers who are assigned to those pods that are watching, obviously, the cells and watching the people that are in them. And so I can't speak to the Orleans Parish Jail and how they do things there. But it's my understanding that at 10:30 they had lockdown. So what that consists of, I'm not sure. I don't know if they're each in individual cells or if they're in one large. These guys were in one large cell. How that works. Um, but at 10:30 lockdown, and then at 12:22 in the morning, the inmates are successful or able to successfully remove a sliding, I guess, supposedly locked door off of the rail that holds it and get out of the particular area where they were in. From there, they moved into this bathroom area of what I guess is now being called a handicap cell. According to what I've read, that handicap cell was not being used for anything. And they were able to remove the toilet from the area and crawl out through a hole in the back, which led them out into an area where they were able to go out through the loading dock, across the fence, and then, of course, across I-10 and on their merry way. And, my first thought is obviously this sliding jail cell gate door, whatever it is. It's shocking to me that they were able to get this thing off of the the rail or whatever it is that it rides on in the first place. So, doing a little work and looking at some of the stories online, apparently, the jail and the Orleans Parish sheriff have been pleading with the government for years to provide them with the millions of dollars necessary to upgrade the jail cells, the locks. They have apparently have numerous cells with faulty locks. Um, but they've apparently been fighting with the government for years about providing the funds in order to upgrade their facilities, make things more secure. Now, according to what I'm reading, um, they escape at 12:30 in the morning. 1 a.m. There's video of them climbing the fence using blankets to cover the barbed wire to get over the fence, and then obviously out on I-10. And according to news reports, they were not identified as being missing until 8:30 the following morning. So 12:22 in the morning, they're breaking out of the cell. 8:30 in the morning is the first time that they noticed that these 10 inmates are missing. Now, according to reports, that especially the ones I read today, according to those reports, that there are no deputies assigned overnight to this particular portion of the jail. However, a civilian, probably some sort of security company that provides assistance to the jail, the civilian who was there that was supposed to be watching this particular area of the jail left to go get some food. Now, that's my first kind of issue with what we've got going on here. Those of you in law enforcement, those of you in corrections, and probably most of you in a lot of similar lines of work. There's times where I've gone without eating because I was busy doing what I had to do and there was nobody to cover what I was doing. So, if I didn't bring something with me to work, probably didn't eat because, I was required to be where I was at. So this civilian is able to um, go away and get food and not be at his post where he's watching these certain individuals who, some of whom were suspected of murders, a lot of violent crimes. I mean, there's 10 guys there that escaped. Now, I will tell you this, that, apparently they have successfully recaptured 5 of them. But that still means there's 5 people out there on the loose, 5 people whose victims are worried about whether or not these people are going to get caught, whether they have to be out there protecting themselves from any kind of danger that may come their way because these guys are out and about. So, yeah, my first concern was, why is there nobody watching this particular area? Now, in some of the stories that I've read, there's surveillance video from inside the prison, the jail, watching these guys do what they're doing. And my question is, I see it down there now. That's right in the right lower hand corner. I can't read that, but maybe you guys can. I am reading it on where I normally read. But anyway, when these guys here's what supposedly happened. So I will say this because Sean has mentioned it about arresting people who were probably involved. This guy that goes, and I don't know that this civilian that goes away to get food, I don't know if he's going to be arrested or not. I don't know if he was allowed to be doing that or what have you, if he was involved. But they have arrested and his name is Sterling Williams. Apparently, he's a maintenance worker for the jail itself. Now, according to the first story I read, once they arrested him, he did admit to one of the inmates or several of the inmates threatening him that they wanted him to turn the water off in this cell so that when they broke away the toilet and stuff like that, of course, the flooding wouldn't happen and they wouldn't be found out for what they were doing. He admitted that he turned the water off because they threatened to shank him if he didn't. Uh, Now, his attorney has said, well, that's not the case. He was threatened, but inmates threaten him all the time. He didn't take it as a serious threat, and that um, he didn't turn the water off for that reason. That he turned the water off because apparently the toilet had overflowed and they couldn't fix it at the time. So he turned the water off so that the flooding wouldn't occur. Awful convenient now that you've been arrested. Um, Flip flop and changing his story. So this guy probably is involved, at least. I wouldn't say after the fact, but he's at the very minimum, he's an accessory at this point for their escape. So, um, but he shuts the water off and aids in their escape from the jail. Fine and dandy. I can't imagine this guy's the only one that's involved from the inside. I would venture to guess that we're going to see more arrests. I would venture to guess that there's probably more people from the inside that are involved. Now, they have arrested 2 other people today, I believe, that are also involved, both of whom were in contact with at least one or multiple inmates via telephone prior to the escape. And then, of course, afterwards as well. One of those being Courtney Harris, who was on the phone with somebody before the escape and is also known to have transported 2 of the suspects or 2 of the escapees, had transported them by vehicle to multiple places within New Orleans. Those 2 particular people that he transported have not been caught at this point. So this person is under arrest. Whether we get any information from them on where these people may have been, who knows? The other one is a Corvante Baptiste. This person was also in contact via phone with at least one of the inmates, and that inmate was, I believe, arrested in that person's home, whom he was providing food for, and obviously shelter because he was hiding in his house. So 3 arrests have been made as far as those who are possibly have assisted in this. And then, of course, I'm sorry, the 2 that assisted after the fact, 1 that assisted the maintenance guy that assisted before the fact. Now, again, another of my questions is, again, like I told you, they had surveillance video of these guys um, leaving the prison, leaving the jail. Who's monitoring these surveillance cameras? And if nobody is, why is nobody monitoring these cameras? I, you know, again, I can only speak to the jail that I've been to, um, and only limited, obviously, because we didn't work the jail as deputies. We didn't control our jail in our county, but somebody's. I would imagine at the jail that I in my county, somebody was constantly monitoring the screens of the surveillance videos, the surveillance cameras. Um, so I mean, there's another place to start looking. I mean, who's ultimately in charge of watching these cameras? Because it shouldn't be this easy for 10 guys to get out of, I'm assuming, their own cells, then out of a larger cell because they all push this sliding door gate, whatever it is, off of the rail that it's on and get into another cell. So, um, yeah, there's a lot of things that, a lot of questions that these folks are going to have to answer. Um, and part of that comes back lack of leadership. I don't know if you guys have seen a lot of people on the videos. I see they're calling her a captain. She calls herself a major in the videos that I've seen from the press conferences. She's the one that's wearing the green. I've been calling the Green Lantern glasses, and she's, I don't know, sketchy at best, in my opinion, with the information that she's provided. and even the sheriff of Orleans Parish. Um, the information is just it's kind of overwhelming to me that things have gone this long, this far, uh, because they say the squeaky wheel gets the grease. If you've been complaining for years about money to fix the facilities that you have, fix the faulty locks that you have, I mean, how do you sleep at night knowing that you've allowed this to take place? I mean, this is not, you know, a, a lot of blame is being placed, of course, on the government for not providing the funds. A lot of blame is being placed on the prosecutors for not prosecuting cases quick enough. That these guys are being housed in these areas for long periods of time, and they should have been sent off to prison or what have you. That's neither here nor there because your job is to house them. So whether or not the prosecutors are getting to the cases in a timely manner doesn't make the escape any less your fault, any less your responsibility. And that's something that's just going to have to be handled, and it's going to have to be handled quickly, as far as I'm concerned, by mayors, governors, you name it. Somebody is responsible for this. Um, and it's not just the people who they've arrested for uh, being a part of the whole escape, on the front end or the back end of it. Ultimately, I think, in my opinion, heads need to roll for this. If you are responsible for housing of individuals who are either serving their jail time or are awaiting trial for either a transfer to prison or to be housed in your facility for, like here, up to a year and a day, in the county that I work in or used to work in, you're still responsible for their housing. And for you to place blame on faulty locks and things of that nature, it's your job to take care of this. So blaming prosecutors, it's just to me right now, it's a series of pass the buck is what I've seen. And I think it's a very unfortunate scenario. I think, your job as corrections, as the sheriff of that county who controls the jail, is to make sure that your public is safe. And you have failed to do that. You have failed to do your job. There is no other more important job that you do as a sheriff, as a corrections deputy who controls a jail. There's no more important job that you have than to house those folks so that they don't get out to hurt the general public. And thank God so far, at least at this point, we haven't been updated as to any of these remaining five out there, or even the five that they have arrested, committing additional crimes outside, whether going after former victims or victims' families or things of that nature. Um, but the potential is there. And unfortunately, uh, I just don't think we're getting the full story. And I don't know that we will. Um, but to talk about the folks that are responsible for this, for responsible, and then to call out the government for not, you know, I just find it hard to believe that we've allowed, and I'm not saying the government is not partially responsible, because the government has a responsibility too to the upkeep of this jail. And if that's the case, if these faulty locks have not been replaced for years, and the sliding doors are so easily removed from their receptacles, somebody's got to do something about that, of course. And of course, now they will, because of what happened. I don't think they're going to get away with not doing this any further. I don't think they're going to get away with not taking that next step and securing that place a whole lot better. But when it takes something like this to occur for folks to get off of their pocketbooks and make things happen, um, it's already a detriment to society. We've already literally the cat's out of the bag. I mean, these guys are out there roaming around. Will we catch these next five guys? You know, I like what they said when they first escaped. I don't know who it was that said it, but somebody was quoted as saying, "You can run, but you can't hide." Yeah, they can. You know, fugitives have hidden from law enforcement for years on years on years on end. Um, to be as arrogant to say, you can't hide, folks, you've already screwed the pooch. I mean, it's out there now. And what we need to be doing now as leadership at the sheriff's office, leadership at the jail itself, the leadership of the county, leadership of the state, what we need to be doing now is reassuring our folks that um, we're there to take care of this. I hearken back to several months ago, um, before the Sugar Bowl, where we had the New Orleans terrorist attack, where the guy drove his vehicle down the middle of the road, and the superintendent of New Orleans police said, "Well, it was the same thing. Oh, well, we don't have the money for the type of barricades that we wanted, so we went with this, and we provided, vehicles on the sidewalk so people couldn't use the sidewalks, and blah blah blah." And well, I didn't know exactly what we had because I'm new here and I'm not sure what all we have out there to protect. You know, it, you know, we tell people, when we tell people when we're in law enforcement, we make contact with them, we're speaking with them about things that they commit. Well, I didn't know. Well, ignorance of the crime, ignorance is not a valid reason, excuse for committing a crime. Well, I didn't know. Uh, so if we're going to tell people that we deal with on the street on the regular basis, well, ignorance is not an excuse. Well, folks, if you're in charge of something like a jail, if you're in charge of something like the protection of your citizens of your city, and your excuse is, well, we didn't have the money to do this, or well, I was ignorant about what we had and what we didn't have, and our abilities, and I've been talking to people for years about trying to get this fixed, and it's just not getting fixed. I have a hard time believing that. I really do. I have a hard time believing that we're so incompetent, as, and I may be wrong because I've seen a lot of stupid crap, but I have a hard time believing that there are folks out there that when you tell them our jail cells locks don't work right, I have a hard time believing that they go, yeah, we'll get to that. Well, they're inside the walls, so yeah, if they get out of their jail cell, they're not going far because they're inside the walls. Well, they're not anymore, guys. 10 of them got out. 10 of them had help in getting out. And 10 of them just hadn't have the one guy, the maintenance guy, who shut off the water. That's not the only guy that helped. If you believe that, I think you're naive. And um, if you're in Orleans Parish, if you're in New Orleans, if you're in Louisiana, you should be arguing that point, that this guy's not the only guy that helped them. There's way too much of a coincidence that a guy walks away to get food. Nobody's watching surveillance cameras. Nobody's out on the perimeter of this jail, this prison. These guys are successfully able to run out of a loading dock, across a parking lot or an area where the loading dock is, use blankets to cover the barbed wire to jump over the fence. There's surveillance video of them outside. They get the first guy that they caught. I think on Bourbon Street is where they caught him. The first guy that they catch, they have him on surveillance video at 10 o'clock in the morning. So he's already been out of jail 9 hours. And they have him on video on Bourbon Street, I believe it is, and ultimately catch him. I want to say sometime around 10:30 is when he's actually picked up. The first guy's actually picked up. Originally they said 11, then it was 10, so we know 10 successfully escaped. Again, 5 have been reapprehend or have been apprehended after making their way out, but 5 are still on the loose. So just too many questions left to be answered. I keep following up on this story on the daily. I keep watching it, and so that's what I do for you guys. I try to come up with stuff that's interesting and believable, and stuff that you guys will pay attention to and want to talk about. So tonight's a little different. We're on Wednesday instead of Thursday, and I think we maintain Wednesday nights for quite some time. So, but I don't know. What do you think? Leave me some comments. Let me know what you think about it when you watch this, either on Facebook or on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you end up catching me at. A lot of questions out there. I think a lot of it has to do with leadership, faulty leadership, lack of leadership. I'm not impressed at all with the news conferences. Um, again, some of you may watch this and talk about me picking on women because it just so happens that the superintendent of New Orleans Police is a female. The sheriff of Orleans County or Orleans Parish is a female. The major who is in charge of the victims unit that's responsible for identifying the victim or notifying the victims of these people's crimes is a female. So in no way, shape, or form am I talking about females, whether they belong in law enforcement or don't belong in law enforcement. So don't represent what I'm saying to you. It's leadership. And if you are not a true leader, if you don't have the ability to lead, uh, it's incidents like this that bring that out. And that's not my fault that you happen to be a female. If you're a poor leader, you're a poor leader. I don't care who you are. And in my opinion, again, like a lot of stuff that I talk about, uh, this is a breakdown in leadership that caused what we've seen occur here in Orleans Parish with the prison break. If you are a leader and you are sincere about, especially in law enforcement corrections, if you are sincere about doing your job, you are sincere about protecting the people that you are sworn to protect, and you allow this to go on for years, guys. That's what they're saying. We've asked for money for years. If you allow that to go on for years, you are part of the problem. Now, I don't know what the issues are with getting the money. I understand budgetary constraints. I understand that certain things are more important at times, but I can't. I am certain that the county in which I worked, their corrections department, which is part of the government of the county that I worked in, I am certain that they have a budget that is approved by the county. And I am certain that they have the ability to go back to the county and request more funds and explain what those funds are for. And so I would assume that this is the same case as is with the agency in the county that I worked in, as it is in Orleans Parish, as it is in New Orleans, as it is in the state of Louisiana. I can't imagine that it's much different. And if you are not being provided the funds and you are not screaming about the funds, I know that the sheriff's office where I worked at, when we wanted more money for raises for the things that we had for hiring purposes, if we weren't successful in getting those, there was a campaign either by the sheriff or by the union, and we were on the news, we were on the media. And if you're not out there campaigning for that money, when you're not getting it from the county government or the parish government or the state government, whoever's funding your jail, if you're not out there campaigning for that money in the media, I have to assume you do. I have to assume that you can. I can't imagine that the citizens of Orleans Parish, of New Orleans, however it works there, of the state of Louisiana, I can't imagine that the citizens are okay with you not getting the funds. And so if you're not campaigning for that in public, using the media or what have you, uh, everything to your ability to get that money, or at least to let people know, hey, we're trying, but so and so says that we don't have the money for that. So and so says that the money for this special project over here, whatever it is, the shiny little new thing over here, that's more important than making sure that the jail cells that we have actually lock so that the people that we're housing in our jail don't come get you. I can't imagine that happens. And if that's what's happening, if the people are okay with it, which I can't imagine that they would be, I can't imagine that they have been. Uh, what's going on, guys? Where's your leadership? What are we doing? Uh, Orleans Parish needs to wake up. New Orleans needs to wake up. These are just, you know, I get it. To some people, these may be minor things and just nitpicking things, but ultimately, these things lead to bigger things. And God forbid one of these five remaining guys goes out there and harms somebody in a lethal way or a permanent way. And you are the one responsible for that. Because I know that if I'm responsible for what happens to somebody else because of a lack of what I could have done or lack of what I wasn't doing, I can imagine how I would feel. So I don't know, guys. Where do you stand on this? Let me know. Leave me some comments. I'm glad you were here with me tonight. Kind of a little short. Um, Usually try to do an hour, but tonight was my daughter's first RN shift, or today was 7A to 7P. So I'm going to break out of here and go talk to her and see how her day was. And again, next week, probably a good time to watch. At this point, we are in talks with um, Andy Fry. He's been on here before. We talked about at the time Andy was on. We were talking about um, intelligence sharing and law enforcement across agencies, across state, federal, and local agencies. It was a great conversation. I want to have Andy back on as much as I can, as much as he's willing to do, and give you guys the best information that we can out there. So next week, make sure you tune in. I'm going to shoot for Wednesday again, 7 p.m. If it changes, I'll give you guys the heads up. Otherwise, thanks for being here. Thanks for leaving comments if you do. Sean Holy Cross, if you're still watching, I appreciate your comments. Always a pleasure to have Sean, who worked for me, former Marine sniper, and all around good guy, Florida State Trooper, Deputy Sheriff. So thanks, Sean, for being here and giving some comments tonight. So if you remember that Facebook has changed the way they operate. So my videos can only stay up for 30 days on my Facebook page for Blue Truth and Bourbon, and on my personal page only be up there for 30 days. So if you don't catch it there, try to catch me on YouTube or Spotify, and recommend me to your friends. I don't anticipate any more stoppages in doing the podcast. So we're going to keep this thing going. Excuse me. We're going to keep this thing going as much as we can. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. And I promise that we'll get some great guests on here so that you guys can get some great information and, maybe have a little fun with it. So I got a friend, Hope, if you're watching or you catch this later on, she's retiring shortly. God, you got to be what? She's under 15 days, I think. So looking forward to having her possibly come on here and talk about women in law enforcement and her career. And so be looking forward to that. Just hopefully have a lot of good things for you guys to catch up on. So appreciate you being here. Thanks for your love and your support. And I will catch you guys later.